Alan Jackson is known as one of the most respected names in country music, but behind the calm voice and simple songs, there is a story filled with struggle, love, heartbreak, and moments that shocked the entire industry. Most people know his songs about love and life, but very few understand the real journey that shaped him into the man he became. His life did not begin with fame or comfort. Instead, it started in a small town where nothing was easy and everything had to be earned. He was born in 1958 in Noonan, Georgia, and grew up in a home that was built piece by piece over time. The house was not even a proper house at first. It started as a small tool shed, and as the family grew, more rooms were added. By the time Alan was growing up, the space was crowded with his parents and four older sisters. There was no luxury, no extra space, and no easy way of living. They did not even have indoor plumbing in the beginning, which meant daily life was harder than most people today can imagine. But even in those conditions, there was something strong holding the family together. It was not money or comfort, but love and hard work. His parents worked long hours just to make sure the family could survive. His mother worked in cafeterias, and his father spent years working as a mechanic, coming home tired and covered in grease. That kind of life teaches a person discipline and patience, and those lessons stayed with Alan for the rest of his life. Music was not a big planned career in the beginning. It was simply something that existed around him. Gospel songs played on the radio, and country music was always in the background. When he finally got his first guitar as a teenager, it was not expensive or special, but it changed everything. He taught himself how to play, spending hours learning by ear, making mistakes, and trying again. There were no teachers guiding him, only his determination. Slowly, music became more than just a hobby. It became a part of who he was, even if he did not fully realize it. As Alan grew older, life did not suddenly become easier or clearer. Like many young people, he did not have a perfect plan for the future. He married his high school sweetheart, Denise Jackson, when they were both very young. They did not have money, connections, or security. What they had was belief in each other. They started their life together while struggling to pay bills and find steady work. Alan worked different jobs, including warehouse work, just to keep things going. During this time, music was still there, but it was not yet a full career. It was something he did on the side, playing in small places and trying to improve. The turning point in his life came from something unexpected and simple. Denise, who later worked as a flight attendant, once met Glenn Campbell on a flight. Instead of just being a fan, she took a bold step and told him about her husband's music. She believed in Alan even when the world did not know him. That moment led to a connection that helped Alan take his first real step toward Nashville. Moving to Nashville was not easy. It was a risk filled with uncertainty. Denise continued working to support them while Alan took a job in a mailroom, surrounded by people who were already successful in the music industry. That could have been discouraging, but instead it motivated him. He kept writing songs, learning, and refusing to change his style just to fit in. Many people told him that his music was too traditional and not modern enough for the time. But Alan stayed true to himself. He believed in telling real stories in simple words, and eventually, that honesty became his greatest strength. When he finally got a record deal and released his first album, people connected with his music because it felt real. It was not fake or polished to impress. It sounded like real life, and that is what made him stand out. As his career grew, Alan Jackson became one of the biggest names in country music, but success brought its own challenges. Fame changed his daily life and put pressure on his marriage. While the world saw a successful artist with a perfect family, the reality behind the scenes was very different. The long tours, constant travel, and distance began to affect his relationship with Denise. Over time, they started to feel like strangers instead of partners. The love that once felt strong began to weaken under the weight of fame and responsibility. Eventually, things reached a breaking point. After the birth of their third daughter, Alan made a decision that shocked Denise. He told her he was leaving. This moment was one of the most painful chapters in their lives. Denise, who had supported him from the very beginning, suddenly found herself alone, trying to hold everything together. She had given up her career, helped build his success, and raised their children, only to feel abandoned. The separation was not filled with loud arguments or public drama. Instead, it was quiet and deeply painful. Denise later spoke about how her world felt like it had fallen apart. She turned to faith and writing to cope with the pain, slowly rebuilding her sense of self. Alan, on the other hand, continued working and touring, but the guilt and emotional weight followed him. This period showed that even people who seem to have everything can face deep personal struggles. Their story was not just about fame, but about the cost that sometimes comes with it. While his personal life was facing challenges, Alan Jackson also became known for moments that showed his strong personality and refusal to follow the rules just to please others. One of the most talked about moments happened during a live performance at an award show. Producers wanted him to perform with a pre-recorded track instead of live music. For many artists, this would not be a big issue, but for Alan, it felt dishonest. He believed that fans deserved real performances, not something fake. Instead of openly arguing, he made his point in a quiet but powerful way. During the performance, his drummer pretended to play without actually using drumsticks, making it clear that the music was not live. It was a bold move that caught attention and sent a message without using words. Another moment came when he stood up for traditional country music by changing his performance on live television to honor another artist who had been treated unfairly. These actions showed that Alan Jackson was not just a performer, but someone who cared deeply about honesty and respect in music. These were the kinds of moments that made people see him differently. He was not trying to create drama, but he was also not willing to pretend. His actions spoke louder than any speech, and they helped build his reputation as someone who stood by his values no matter what. In the end, the story of Alan Jackson is not just about music or fame. It is about a man who stayed true to himself through success, failure, love, and pain. His journey from a small tool shed home to the biggest stages in the world shows what determination can achieve. But it also reminds us that success does not protect anyone from personal struggles. His marriage went through deep pain, but it also found a way to survive and rebuild over time. His career faced challenges, but he never changed who he was just to fit in. And those powerful moments on stage, where he refused to pretend, showed the world what kind of person he truly was. The story behind him, walking off stage, or breaking the rules, is not just about one moment. It is about everything that led up to it. It is about a lifetime of experiences that shaped his values and his courage to stand up for what he believed in. When people listen to his songs today, they are not just hearing music. They are hearing the life of someone who lived every word he sang. That is what makes his story powerful and worth remembering. As Alan Jackson continued to rise in the world of country music, his life became more complicated in ways that success often hides. On the outside, everything looked perfect. He had hit songs, sold-out shows, awards, and a growing fan base that connected deeply with his music. But behind that success was a daily life filled with pressure, expectations, and emotional strain. The music industry is not just about talent. It is also about image, trends, and constant demands to stay relevant. Alan was entering a time when country music was slowly changing, becoming more polished and influenced by pop sounds. Many artists chose to adapt to these changes in order to stay popular, but Alan did not feel comfortable doing that. He believed that country music should stay true to its roots, telling real stories in a simple and honest way. This belief sometimes put him in difficult situations with producers and industry leaders who wanted something more modern and commercial. Instead of following those demands, Alan stayed firm. He continued to write and sing songs about everyday life, small towns, love, and heartbreak. This decision was not easy because it meant risking his success. But it also made his music feel more real to fans who were tired of hearing songs that felt fake or overly produced. At the same time, his personal life was still recovering from the earlier separation from Denise Jackson. The two eventually found their way back to each other, but rebuilding a relationship after such pain takes time and effort. Trust had to be rebuilt, and both of them had to face the mistakes and emotions they had avoided before. Their story became one of forgiveness and second chances, showing that even deep wounds can heal when both people are willing to try again. This period of Alan's life shows that success is not always a simple path forward. It is often filled with difficult choices, personal struggles, and moments where a person has to decide what truly matters. During this time, Alan Jackson also became known for standing up for what he believed was right in the music industry. One of the most powerful examples of this happened at the Academy of Country Music Awards 1994. At this event, he was asked to perform using a pre-recorded track instead of live music. For many performers, this was normal, but for Alan, it felt dishonest. He believed that fans deserved a real performance, not something that was made to look real. Instead of refusing directly, he chose a creative way to make his point. During the performance, his drummer acted like he was playing without actually using drumsticks, making it clear that the music was not live. The moment was subtle but powerful. People watching could see that something was off, and it created a conversation about authenticity in live performances. This act was not about creating drama or getting attention. It was about standing by his values in a way that people would notice. Another unforgettable moment came at the Country Music Association Awards 1999. During this show, country legend George Jones was given a short performance slot, which many felt was disrespectful to his legacy. Alan, who deeply respected traditional country artists, was not happy about this. When he went on stage, he was supposed to perform his own song, but instead, he changed the plan in the middle of the performance. He stopped and began singing one of George Jones's songs as a tribute and a form of protest. The audience reacted strongly, and the moment became one of the most talked about events in country music history. These actions showed that Alan Jackson was not afraid to take risks when it came to his beliefs. He was willing to use his platform to stand up for honesty and respect, even if it meant going against expectations. At the same time, Alan's music continued to reflect the real experiences of his life. His songs were not just written to be popular. They were written from personal moments, memories, and emotions. One of his most meaningful songs was inspired by his relationship with his father, a hardworking man who spent his life fixing engines and providing for his family. Through his music, Alan expressed love, respect, and gratitude for the simple but important lessons he learned growing up. He also wrote songs that reflected the struggles in his marriage, turning personal pain into something that others could relate to. This ability to connect personal experiences with universal feelings is what made his music so powerful. Fans did not just listen to his songs. They felt them. They saw their own lives in his words. This connection helped him build a loyal audience that stayed with him through the years. Another important moment in his career came after the tragic events of September 11th attacks. Like many Americans, Alan was deeply affected by what happened. Instead of creating something loud or dramatic, he wrote a simple and emotional song that asked questions many people were already thinking. The song did not try to provide answers. It simply gave people a way to process their feelings. This showed another side of Alan's artistry. He knew when to speak loudly and when to speak quietly. He understood that sometimes the most powerful messages are the ones that come from honesty and simplicity. This balance between personal storytelling and wider emotional connection is what kept his music meaningful even as times changed. Despite all the success and recognition, Alan Jackson never forgot where he came from. The small house, the hard-working parents, and the simple life he grew up in continued to shape who he was. He did not try to present himself as something he was not. Even when he stood on the biggest stages, there was still a sense of humility in the way he carried himself. This is one of the reasons why his moments of rebellion, like the performances where he challenged industry norms, felt so genuine. They were not planned acts to gain attention. They were natural reactions from someone who believed in being real. Over time, these moments became part of his legacy. People did not just remember his songs. They remembered how he acted when faced with pressure. They remembered that he chose honesty over comfort and truth over convenience. His story also shows that success is not just about reaching the top. It is about how a person behaves once they get there. Alan Jackson could have easily followed trends, avoided conflict, and focused only on maintaining his popularity. Instead, he chose a different path. He stayed connected to his roots, respected the history of country music, and used his voice to stand up for what he believed in. This made his journey more meaningful and gave his career a deeper purpose. In the end, His story is not just about music or fame. It is about character, resilience, and the courage to remain true to oneself, even when the world is pushing in a different direction. For many fans, the most unforgettable part of Alan Jackson's story is not just his music or his awards, but the moments when he broke away from expectations and did something completely unexpected on stage. These were the moments that felt raw and real, the moments that made people stop and pay attention. One of those moments became the center of stories and headlines, often described as the time he stormed off stage. While the reality was not always as dramatic as people imagined, the meaning behind those actions was powerful. Alan was never the kind of artist who enjoyed pretending. He believed that when fans came to watch him perform, they deserved honesty. This belief is what led to several tense situations throughout his career. On certain nights, when things did not feel right or when he felt pushed into doing something that went against his values, he reacted in ways that surprised even the people who worked with him. There were times when production demands, technical setups, or industry rules clashed with his personal beliefs about music. In those moments, Alan did not quietly accept the situation. Instead, he made his discomfort visible. Sometimes it was through small actions, like changing how he performed a song. Other times, it was more direct, like cutting a performance short or stepping away from the stage earlier than expected. These actions were not about anger or ego. They were about frustration with a system that often prioritized appearance over truth. To the audience, it could look sudden or confusing. But to Alan, it was a way of staying honest in a world that often encouraged artists to hide behind a polished image. These moments added a layer of mystery to his public image. Fans began to see him not just as a performer, but as someone who was willing to stand up for what he believed in, even in front of millions of viewers. At the heart of these moments was a deeper story about pressure and identity. The music industry, especially at a high level, is filled with expectations. Artists are told what to wear, how to sound, how to act, and even how to feel in public. For someone like Alan Jackson, who built his career on being real and grounded, this kind of control could feel overwhelming. There is a difference between performing and pretending, and Alan was very aware of that line. When he felt that line was being crossed, it created a tension that was hard to ignore. This tension did not appear overnight. It built slowly over years of experience, success, and personal challenges. His struggles in his marriage to Denise Jackson also played a role in shaping how he saw the world during this time. When someone goes through emotional pain, it often changes how they react to pressure. Small frustrations can feel bigger, and the need to stay true to oneself becomes stronger. For Alan, the stage was not just a place to perform. It was a place where his identity was constantly tested. Every decision, every performance, and every appearance came with expectations from producers, fans, and the industry. In that environment, walking away from the stage, even for a moment, could be seen as a bold statement. It was a way of saying that some things mattered more than following the script. These actions may not have always been planned, but they were honest. And in a world where many things are carefully controlled, honesty can stand out more than perfection. That is why these moments stayed in people's minds. They were unpredictable, real, and deeply human. Another important part of understanding these stage moments is recognizing how much Alan Jackson respected the roots of country music. He was not just protecting his own image. He was also protecting the kind of music he believed in. Artists like George Jones had a huge influence on him, and he saw them as more than just performers. They represented a tradition, a way of telling stories that came from real life. When he felt that this tradition was being ignored or disrespected, it affected him deeply. This is why moments like his tribute during the Country Music Association Awards 1999 were so important. They were not just about one performance. They were about standing up for something bigger. The same idea applies to the stories about him stepping away from the stage or breaking from the expected performance. These actions were connected to a larger belief that music should be honest and respectful of its roots. Fans who understood this saw these moments as powerful, not confusing. They saw a man who was willing to take risks to protect what he loved. Over time, these actions helped shape how people viewed him. He was not just a successful artist. He was someone with strong values, someone who cared about more than just fame. This made his career feel more meaningful, both to him and to his audience. It also showed that sometimes the most important moments in a career are not the ones that go perfectly, but the ones where a person chooses to stand by their beliefs, even when it is difficult. In the end, the story of Alan Jackson and his unexpected moments on stage is about more than just one night or one decision. It is about a lifetime of experiences that shaped how he responded to the world around him. From growing up in a small, crowded home to becoming one of the biggest names in country music, every part of his journey influenced the way he saw things. His struggles in his personal life, his commitment to honesty in his music, and his respect for tradition all came together in those moments when he chose not to follow the script. Whether it was subtly protesting a pre-recorded performance, honoring a fellow artist in an unexpected way, or stepping away when something did not feel right, each action told a story. It showed that he was not just performing for the audience, but also for himself. He was making sure that the person on stage was the same person he had always been. That is not an easy thing to do, especially in an industry that often rewards image over authenticity. But Alan Jackson managed to do it in his own way. And that is why his story continues to resonate with people. It reminds us that success is not just about reaching the top. It is about staying true to who you are along the way. The moments when he walked off stage or broke away from expectations are not signs of failure. They are signs of courage. They show that sometimes the strongest statement a person can make is simply refusing to pretend. As the years passed, Alan Jackson's story began to settle into something deeper than fame or headlines. What once looked like simple success started to reveal layers of meaning that only time could fully show. His career was no longer just about hit songs or sold-out shows. It became a reflection of a life lived with both strength and struggle. The moments when he pushed back against the system, when he refused to follow the script, and when he chose honesty over comfort all became part of a larger legacy. People began to see a pattern